Hello and welcome to part 2 of the February Q&A from the Tau team. All right, you had loads of questions from last month, so let's get into them now. Cheers. And the first question is from Colonel D, and they ask, how can Tau take advantage from the benefits of quantum computing?
Well, whether quantum computing has benefits in the specific kinds of computation that the Tau language requires, to the best of my knowledge, the current status of this is that no one knows. So for now, as far as I know, nothing, and whether in the future, yes or no, no one knows.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Ahad. And the next question is from Phileas Hermetis, and they ask, how does Tau ensure that decentralization does not lead to a situation where a sporadic majority could potentially hijack the network? The concern is that maybe a dictator could convince a majority and thus take control of the network, which couldn't be reversed anymore.
Yeah, we acknowledge the theoretical risk of network hijacking under specific hypothetical conditions, and while preventing such scenarios depends significantly on users developing and implementing protective rules within the framework of Tau language and its extensions. However, there is no absolute guarantee that these measures will address every possible threat. And this also underscores the importance of testnet, which goes beyond testing basic functionalities like coin transfers. It serves as an essential platform for users to experiment with and establish rules aimed at safeguarding the network. So feedback from testnet use will guide the evolution of Tau's algorithms and Tau language, basically emphasizing the principle that with the ability to modify the chain's laws comes a substantial responsibility. And users must carefully craft these laws, being aware that inadequate rules could have serious consequences for network security and integrity.
And Phileas has 2 more questions, and I'll get into the first one. He says, in what ways does Tau prevent the rich get richer issue, commonly associated with proof-of-stake systems, from affecting its on-chain governance? And his second question is, considering that in many legislative systems, a majority cannot enact arbitrary laws, how does Tau's governance model address this issue to prevent arbitrary decision-making?
So yes, basically what I said before with regards to the previous question also applies for these 2 scenarios. So ultimately it's up to the users to make sure that the necessary rules are constructed and set up over the network in order to ensure that the network is safeguarded against these kind of scenarios.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Gillian. And the next question is from Dashti Abdullah. And they say, hello, I'm Dashti's lawyer from the Kurdistan region. We don't know Dashti, but okay. When will your team present something tangible that proves the validity of the existence of your project, and where is testnet?
Hello, Dashti. Good to meet you, and thank you for the question. I would certainly begin by referring you to our long-time publicly available repository for IDNI, where it has not just the Tau language, but the TML language and the parser. So all of those are very concrete projects that we've done so far. In addition, recently we have published Ohad's background theory on Tau and how it derives its abilities. So anybody with strong mathematical background can read that theory and understand how groundbreaking it is. And yes, and also if we'd suggest you keep an eye on the progress of our roadmap, and that would give you an idea of how soon we'll have testnet and the mainnet as well. Thank you.
And the next question is from Zuhaitz, and they ask, any more centralized exchange listings coming soon? Absolutely. There are a couple of exchanges that we're speaking to at the moment. We want to make sure that we get on the highest tier exchanges from here on out. So we're working on that. They do have quite high requirements for us, and they're constantly reviewing the project. And obviously, as soon as we can meet those requirements, we'll be jumping straight on them. But we'll keep you updated, and for sure, we will be jumping on new exchanges. Cheers. And the next question is from MTGM, and they ask, hi team, I'm impressed by your work so far and excited to see the results of all that hard labor. I'm interested to know, how does Tau logical AI compare to current large language models regarding computing power? Large language models famously require large amounts of data and computing power. What about Tau? Will it be more or less, approximately, or equivalent?
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Regarding the computing power, one of the biggest issues with LLMs is the added cost. You need huge amounts of computer power just to adjust your model. In the case of the Tau language, there are no upfront costs regarding the language. However, depending on the task that you want to perform, the complexity could be double exponential in your input. So we guess that most of the cases wouldn't fall into that category. So it's difficult to estimate, but at least you don't have the huge amount that is needed just to adjust the models, because you perform the task on the go.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, David. And the next question is from Marco, and he asks, is the plan to eventually make Tau self-hosted to define the Tau runtime with Tau?
Yeah, you ask about plan, and there is some limited abstracted ability to do such a thing that I identified relatively recently. It's by no means self-interpretation. Whether or not it will be useful and we will go for it, yeah, we will see.
All right, we've got two more questions from Marco, and they ask, after you publish the testnet, how and when will Tau replace the initial software? How exactly do you foresee it happening? And will Tau gradually subsume the original software piece by piece, function by function? And is it all to be done manually by the dev team?
Yes, it will be such a gradual process, but not so much fine-grained. It will be very few steps of a blockchain, a network code, bigger and bigger. I don't know, let's say just numbers that come to mind. So let's say 3-4 steps. Yeah, so that's the plan.
All right, on to Marco's next question. And he asks, what is the interplay between Tau and the blockchain in the initial version? Is the Tau net specifically initially just included as a non-essential payload, and are blocks validated with Tau?
Okay, thank you, Marco, for the question. Absolutely. So I wouldn't call it interplay. I would say that from the beginning, Tau net or the testnet will be based on Tau. And yes, Tau will be validating the blocks. But yeah, it won't be just a non-essential payload. It'll be at the very basis of the blockchain. And yeah, so the Tau language is very much the basis of Tau net and Tau testnet from the beginning.
On to Nathan's question, and he asks, is Tau net a UTXO-based blockchain? People say that account-based blockchains are generally considered better suited for smart contracts than UTXO-based blockchains. If Tau net is a UTXO-based blockchain, can Tau net be programmable as much as other account-based blockchains?
The blockchains that were developed initially, like, for example, Bitcoin blockchain, UTXO, meaning that we need to calculate unspent transaction output. And of course, modern blockchains are storing states of users, and we're aiming on storing states of users for sure. But because Tau allows users to control the blockchain, it can be whatever they want. If you want to calculate UTXO, you can define the rules that it would be so. If you want to store the state of the certain wallet of the contract, okay, let be so. It's up to the users. But of course, initially for the testnet, we are aiming for the modern approach of storing the state, of course, the state of wallets, contracts, and everything.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Andre. And the next question is from Marco, and he asks, have you planned to work on any educational resources for understanding Tau and participating?
Yeah, so first thing that was planned is the Tau forum, which I already spoke about on a monthly update. Essentially, this is something that is in the work right now. I am basically at the last stage of making sure that everything works fine before we release it. And on Tau Forum, you will be able to have a lot of resources, a lot of conversation on different topics, and also including some of the team members as well that you will be able to help you out if you're stuck with anything in terms of the Tau language. And the second thing would be basically a Tau language series that's planned to be hosted on YouTube.
For sure, for everything what we release, we will create educational resources and tutorials, guides, and tools, and also online playground.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, guys. And the next question is from Marco. Lots from Marco. And he asks, if you have time to answer this, I would like to hear what each or any team member considers interesting recent inventions or current developments in computer science, blockchain or not. I'm not asking this to be cute, but with the assumption that they are topics actually worth researching, unlike most blockchain projects. Thank you.
Point of view, the first key point is the specification of programs in such a way that we remain decidable. Of course, that doesn't cover all the programs we could have in a Turing-complete language, but the set of covered ones is huge enough to make the approach really worthy. The second key point is the social economical implications of a blockchain powered by such a specification language. The blockchain allows us to have a distributed and untenable database of knowledge and consensus thanks to the very nature of the Tau language. Those are for me the key points.
Right, fantastic. Thank you, David. And on to Apocalyptic Snail for his questions. The first question he asks is, will we see any new exchanges listing Agoras anytime soon? And if so, any relevant time expectancy? So there are exchanges right now reviewing the project. I believe that the next requirements that they have for us will be to show some valid product. So, for example, something like after Tau language, people to be able to use some product of Tau. That would be really useful. And they also have other requirements as well that we're working on to make the exchanges happy. But we are in communication with them, and certainly this year you'll see another exchange. And the next question is, as testnet is getting near and following is the mainnet, what are your plans regarding the reserved tokens? If you opt for slow release and distribution, please specify the specifics. All right, so on this question, it's quite a big topic. Obviously the holders that have been holding for a very, very long time are dedicated throughout the project. We love and respect them. So we need to make sure that this is all done in coordination with the community. We haven't got a specific lockdown idea right now, but it will be happening after mainnet. And their third question is, in the past, a second ICO was mentioned as a later possibility. In regards to question 2, what are your thoughts about an ICO now? And instead of going with an ICO, would you consider partially distributing the tokens to the holders and using the rest as incentives for potential promising layer 2 projects on top of your network? So, no, we're not looking to airdrop the tokens. The project doesn't do airdrops any longer. We've certainly done them with exchanges to help promote a listing on an exchange, for example. But we now basically call that the treasury. And that is really anything that can assist the project going forward, which could include, for example, like you said, using these tokens as an incentive to build on top of Tau. Now, I think the biggest incentive to build on Tau is to actually get Tau's features. So we do see a lot of projects gravitating towards Tau in the future anyway. So, but that is also an extra bonus, but we'll also consider that. Cheers. Last question from Apocalyptic Snail is, you mentioned rightfully so that the AI you're developing utilizing logics enables a safer AI, and that in the EU, there are laws and regulations to ensure safety in the space. Are you working on approaching relevant EU entities and programs to synergize with? This is something we have looked at in the past. There are certain EU applications that we can make for grants and so on to work with certain governmental agencies. We certainly want to integrate with them. That's something that is definitely in the pipes, but we need something to show. So beyond Tau language, we'll be able to go and demo to the relevant agencies to be able to integrate and show what we're capable of. But yeah, absolutely, that's the plan. We don't just want to keep this to the crypto space. We want to have this capability spread throughout the world. All right, and the last question is from Smarter Than Thou. First question is, will we see you dominate relevant public venues? Can't wait to see Ahad take the stage in a major event to showcase the project and technology. Absolutely, we want to be going to events. There are a couple of events that we would like to have appeared at earlier on in the year, but we are still heads down in development mode and also dissemination of our important technology, the information around it. But absolutely, once we have a bit more to show in the language, with testnet, for example, it will be absolutely no questions asked that we'll be attending events, because obviously that will convince everyone, right? So the whole plan is to, not just talk about the technology, but also to show the technology. And that's something we're going to do. The next question is, can we expect to see new publications in major news and media outlets anytime soon?
I think you'll be happy to hear that a fresh article about Tau and its reasoning capabilities came out today as we are filming this video. It came out on Hacker Noon, which has, to my knowledge, over 200,000 daily readers. But I also think that the publication of Ohad's research paper is going to open a lot of doors. So we are working on reaching out to science journals, and we first need to reach the scientific community, though we have been getting some organic interest already as well. So we need to get the paper peer-reviewed, and then we will do everything we can to make it have a snowball effect in popular media. So there's a lot of things lined up in content strategy and in PR strategy on our end.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Carolina. And the last question is, if I recall correctly, David Shapiro made a good interview in the past. Will you make a new updated deep dive into Tau with David?
Yes, definitely. So with the latest filing of our discoveries and inventions that we've been researching for the past years, we already took the initiative to reach out to David again, which was or is in Jamie's hands, and he already got a positive response. David Shapiro's interested in particular in the decentralized aspect of our project. In our technology. So yeah, we are definitely looking forward to setting up a new interview with him where we dive deeper into Tau Net, Tau language, and the whole decentralized aspect of our technology.
All right, fantastic. That about wraps it up for the rest of the Q&A for February. And like we said before, we've got some fantastic news. We're going to be publishing Ahad's research as a link in the description, and also links to the newly opened Tau language GitHub repository. So check that out in the description. And yeah, we'll see you on our socials. That's Twitter. That's the new Reddit subreddit. That's Tau Net Agrs. And obviously, see you in Telegram. Cheers, guys.